Hey everybody, I'm Doug, that's Conor, and this is a very special episode of the Bethel School District Presents podcast. We are celebrating 75 years of the Bethel School District with Bethel Legend Ed Niehl. You might recognize Mr. Niehl's name from the Bethel High School Gymnasium, and we are so proud to have him join us on the show along with his son, Bob Niehl. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Glad to have you.
So, Mr. Niehl, you've lived in our area since 1951 and worked at Bethel High School when it opened its doors. Talk to us a little bit about the changes you've seen in the school and around the district since then.
I just had the opportunity the other day with Bob to travel out to Graham, which I haven't seen for many, many years, and up the Graham Hill, and I couldn't believe the growth in the Bethel district. When I was here, we had 6 elementary schools. We had teams formed from the 6 schools for intramural and recreational basketball and baseball. And now I understand there's 18 elementary schools and maybe 6 or 8 junior high schools. And I was fortunate to see the 4th high school groundbreaking since I've lived in the Bethel district. And that's amazing to see 4 high schools in a lifetime.
It absolutely is. Your lifetime spans a lot of history across this district, across this country. You came to Bethel by way of Pittsburgh, the United States Army, and Washington State University. It's a lot of ground to cover in your early years that I'm sure folks are going to want to know about. So let's start in the Steel City, where I am also from Pittsburgh. I lived there till I was 12. You lived there a little bit less time than that. I heard you left when you were about 6 months old.
We left there when I was 6 months old. My dad and mother and Aunt Mary and my older brother Ted headed west. I don't remember much about the trip, but I do have some stories that I was often told later. The main one was Aunt Mary, who was coming out with us to help with my older brother Ted and me. She always got scared coming over high road passes and different roads that we took, and Dad and Mom used to tell me how Mary always wanted the inside of the car to sit on when we came over some of those rugged passes in those days. I don't know if there were guardrails or not, but it kind of scared all of us when she started screaming about, "Look down there," way down there. Yeah.
And Ed, I understand you're 100 years old, correct?
Yes.
So you've seen a lot in your life. Your formative years stretched from the Great Depression to World War II. That's an unparalleled experience. How did that shape you as a young man, and what lessons did you learn that stayed with you all these years?
I think the biggest thing that I learned after graduating, I quit high school in my senior year after the football season. And I joined the Army because I was afraid they would draft me into the Navy. And I didn't like water at that time, and I'm still not a favorite of water. But I did join the Army, and I think the 2.5 years that I was in did a lot for my life. I was kind of a character in high school, I understand. I didn't like school too well, but I liked sports. And the Army took that out of me and gave me a lot of foresight to continue my life.
And I found an article about you online. It said you actually played football for the Army. Is that true?
I did. I was going to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and we brought a artillery team from Camp Swift to Fort Sill to play football. And I think there was 6 or 8 different teams that came there. A real remarkable place to go, and I don't know what I learned militarily, but I did have a good time playing football for the artillery at Fort Sill.
I bet. I was actually also in the Army. I was a broadcast journalist and served with AFN in Belgium. I don't know what I learned militarily either, but it brought me here.
Yeah.
So you also played football at WSU, if I'm not mistaken. Any memories from that time?
Yes, I remember when a coach knocked on my door one day when I was living in Seattle, and asked me if I wanted to go to school at Washington State. It kind of surprised me because I had no intentions of going to school. I was ready to go to work. And I said yes. And Mom and Dad, a few weeks later, packed me in a car and took me over to Pullman and dumped me off. And from there on, it was Washington State Cougar football from that day on. I never was a real Husky fan, but I do appreciate the program that they have had so far. I'm a Cougar. My two sons are Cougars. My grandson is a Cougar. So we have a respect for Washington, but not as a Cougar.
But not too much.
Not too much respect.
And sports, you were also very involved with sports at Bethel High School. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your time as a teacher there. If my sources are correct, you taught shop. What was that like, and what kind of projects did students work on back in the 50s?
I have to say that your sources were wrong.
Oh, no.
I taught shop for 1 year. When I got the job at Bethel, I was assigned to world history shop, metal shop, wood shop. I graduated from Washington State in physical education and health. So the first year I was at Kapowsin High School, which had a earthquake destruction in 1949, destroyed their swimming pool and part of their gymnasium. So I got these other different teaching positions than I would have normally. And when Bethel opened, I did get my position that I wanted was in the gymnasium. Taught physical education for 15 and a half years.
That tracks with the coaching thing. We'll have to fire the intern that did our research on that. So I have a follow-up question. That date, 1949, when you taught at Kapowsin High School, that is the year that Bethel School District was founded, 75 years ago. Do you remember anything about that consolidation of the 30-some school districts that were brought together to form this one big, gigantic megalith that Conor and I now proudly serve?
No, I don't remember much about it. I do know that there was a lady, Pierce County educator, Ruth Bethel, and what I know is they named the name after her. But I do understand there were just many, many consolidations in the Bethel School District. The last one being high school being Roy and Kapowsin, which were, I don't know how far apart, but they're quite a ways apart.
Yeah, and you were a football and baseball coach at Bethel, and as a new district with a new high school, it was your job to get the athletes from Kapowsin High School and Roy High School, like you just mentioned, to come together as one team, being so far away. I've read that you actually drove the bus that took the athletes from Kapowsin to Roy for practice. What was that time like for you?
Actually, the two schools, now I remember, were 16 miles apart. And when they consolidated, they played 1950 season was played as Roy and as Kapowsin. Then in 1951, we brought the two teams together. When I got the job, my wife and I came early a spring break to look at the two schools we were going to be involved in. And things didn't look good at that time, but I knew they were building the new Bethel High School, so I was really excited about that. But our facilities at Roy is where we chose to turn out for football. We rented a field in Breesman Park, which is now Spanaway Golf Course, and that's where we turned out for baseball. But I had to take the kids from Kapowsin, load them on a bus, take them over to Roy and turn out. And then after turnout, I would take some of the Roy kids home and then backtrack over to Kapowsin and take the Kapowsin kids home. And fortunately, the school district let me take the bus home when I lived in Parkland. But it was a long day, but it was a fun day.
Is it true you played games at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma?
Yes, we played our football games at Cheney Stadium, which was up on 11th Avenue there somewhere. Yes, we played there a couple years until we got our Bethel facilities going.
Dad, why don't you tell them the story about you and Art Crate and how the football field got in its location?
You'd have to know Art Crate first. Art Crate was a member of the Bethel District. He was a power and light manager for Elmhurst Light and Power. The district went from Parkland way out to Harts Lake. And Art became very concerned about our high school and our athletic program because he had 2 boys coming up. Knowing Art Crate, he used to come and ask me what I needed. Well, we needed a lot of things, and field was the main thing. And I can remember one day he came when I was out with my high school PE class, and Art came over and he said, "Where do you want the football field?" And I said, "Art, I've got a class here. I can't leave you. I can't leave him." Well, knowing Art, it was then or now, or not at all. So I told my student leader to take over while I went over and helped Mr. Crate out. And I had looked at the areas where a field might be, but I had no idea it would be. But we walked over there. I was kind of upset. And I walked over there and I put my foot down and I said, "Art, I want the corner right here." And I said, "I'd like to have it parallel with 38th Avenue." And that was it. He pounded a steak. And that's where the Bethel football field is nowadays, at the same place.
That is amazing, though, that a kind of snap decision like that so many decades later, and here we are, still playing there.
And to look at the timeline of how long it went from, okay, where are we going to put it, to it being there was amazing. How quickly did the machinery show up after that meeting that you had with Art?
Probably the next weekend. Because Art was a go-getter, and he had lots of help in the Bethel district. He got the cinders and the whole thing and put the ribbon around for the track and put up goalposts. He did a lot. I can't say enough for Art Crate. I appreciate everything he did.
Things move a little slower these days.
Things do move a little slower these days.
We just attended the groundbreaking for the new Bethel High School, and they talked how that started 17 years ago.
It did.
A little bit different than what they were able to do the football field and the grandstand both.
They should have just had Ed come over and put a stake down and we're good to go.
Art and Ed out there with a stake and put the school in.
Yeah, something tells me the permitting process wasn't as rigorous back then.
It was, yeah.
So at Bethel High, Ed, you spent 15 years as a football coach, 5 years as a baseball coach, and 7 years as a basketball assistant. When it came to athletics, what did Bethel do right, and what were some of the things that you had to work on?
I think we worked on things as they came. There were problems that came up daily, turnout-wise, fields, transportation, getting the kids home and back. We had to work on everything as it came along. There was no planning ahead. We had no money. I did go to Adele House in Tacoma and Scott's Ed Athletic Supply and ran up a credit bill there. They gave us uniforms. At first we had uniforms from both Kapowsen and Roy, not enough for a full team at a consolidated school. So we did have to go in debt a little bit, and we borrowed and begged from different people that we knew that had something. And the Bethel district was super. They were like the old timing days when somebody needed help. There was people there to help them. So it was a great district, and just went from grassroots up to where they are now.
I've heard that once you're a coach, you're always a coach. Let's put that coaching hat back on for a minute. If you could step into the locker room and give a pep talk, what would you say to today's student athletes?
I don't know what I would say today. I hear too much restriction on what a coach can do and can't do. But I would impress on the kids that we're playing this game as a team. And as a team, we don't want anyone to embarrass our team or yourself. We don't want to embarrass the Bethel School District, so adhere to the laws and the rules of the game, carry out your assignments, and do the best you can, and above all, have some fun doing it.
I love that. Conor gave me that same pep talk before he came in here. Don't embarrass me and don't embarrass the district.
I say that before every interview with you.
It's very wise advice. Ed, today you serve as a key member of the Bethel School District Athletic Hall of Fame. Tell us a little bit about that organization and why it's so important for our community.
It gives us a chance in the Bethel School District to bring kids back together as a group receiving awards. I think Bob could answer this better than I do. Bob is the president of the Bethel Hall of Fame, and he does a good job of it, better than I. I know that it's been just a great thing because a lot of my former athletes have come by and congratulated us on the job that this group has done.
I think one of our main goals is to preserve history, to learn from what past athletes have done, to learn who those people were, just the abilities of people that have come out of Bethel High School. All of us have kind of a time frame that we know the school, and my time frame was probably from birth until I graduated from high school. And the day after I graduated from high school, I was a Cougar. But I look back now and get to see people that I sat in the stands and saw as heroes be recognized for what they had done. Back in those days, the high school games were so important because you couldn't see every pro team play every night on TV like you can today. So that was a lot more of the community focus. And the thing that I have learned about 1970 on is we have produced a huge number of great athletes, people that have been on the pro golf tour, people that have played some pro football, people that have done all sorts of things and gone on and be successful.
Absolutely. We even had a former Mariner come out of Bethel High School.
Yes, we did. Mike Blowers, and he was, I think it was the first ceremony we had. He was our guest speaker. Or was he inducted? Maybe he was inducted the first one and spoke at the second one, I think is what he probably did.
That was it, yeah.
Dad, why don't you tell us a little bit about your 1955 and 56 football teams?
The 1955 team, I wish I could list some of the players, but I would miss some, so I better not. But it went undefeated, and we won the state championship. This was a mythical championship at that time. Was voted in by sports writers and people throughout the state. And then in 56, most of the same kids came back, and we went undefeated that year. And if I recall right, we were unscored on for 16 ball games.
Wow. Which is truly incredible. I would love to get back in the record books and see if that's ever happened again. That I can't imagine it has.
Quite a defense.
Yeah.
Ed, you were born in 1924. I'm going to go through a little list I made here of some of the things that were invented after you were born, and that includes bubble gum, penicillin, Scotch tape, jet engines. So many different things that Conor and I take for granted were invented after you entered the world. For you, is there a single greatest invention that America's produced?
I think probably the television. I know at my age now, I enjoy television. It's a good pastime, and I do enjoy it. I know that when I was going to high school, there was no SeaTac airport.
Wow.
There was no Interstate 5. There was no Spanaway Golf Course. Pacific Avenue was very bare of businesses like it is today. Mainly construction has taken over, I think, which is good.
A lot of new infrastructure around. That's a good answer. I think television is a strong answer. Conor and I have chosen podcasting because we have faces for radio, we're told. So we're happy to sit behind the microphones here.
Yeah.
Bob, with your father turning 100, I'm sure over the years he's probably told you a couple solid pieces of advice. Is there any that you could share with the listeners that really stuck with you, made a big impact in your life? You've been a pretty successful man yourself.
Well, I don't know if they were direct things that he said, here's the advice, but to follow his lead. He spent his life in coaching, and so many times I've seen articles about him, and it has the quote, "Do it for the kids." And his whole career, he was about the betterment of student athletes, both in the classroom and on the football field or basketball court or baseball field. But it was always about what's best for the students and what's good for their life and what can they learn and take with them as they go on. And I followed his footsteps, as I say, a physical education degree at WSU. Played basketball. I was never a football player, but I did play basketball, and sports were really important in our household. as just kind of a centerpiece. We still watch the Mariners almost every night. We watch all the Seahawk games. We just loved watching the Cougars this last year in basketball. And I think just the guidance that he gave me towards how he lived his life. I look back and so many times now you see parents that are the helicopter parents that are always there and right involved with the kids and everything they do. He never once said, let's go out and do this. Let's go do that, play a sport. But if I said, hey, Dad, I'd like to go play catch, he had the ball in a couple gloves. Hey, will you rebound for me? Yep, he's out there. And was always there, but never pushed. But I think like any young person, you're going to look at what the important people in your life are doing, and you emulate that. And I think that I did that, and I'm glad that I did.
I think that's fantastic. Great answer and great advice. Do it for the kids. I love that quote.
Absolutely. And one last question for you, Ed. And we all aspire to live a long, meaningful life like yours. Do you have any good advice for the people listening on how to stay active and engaged in their retirement years?
I've been asked that many times and since I got 100 anyway. I never had any problem as far as eating, sleeping, keeping active. And that's all I can say is that keep going, just keep active, eat the right things, stay away from drugs, and do the best you can with what you got.
It's just that simple.
Just love it. Fantastic advice. Bethel Institution, Ed Niehl and Bob Niehl, thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here to celebrate the 75th anniversary of our great district. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.